Store manager mocks Tom Cruise for looking poor, not knowing it's the real boss. The automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh as the man in the old faded hoodie stepped inside the luxurious department store. The scent of polished wood, new leather, and cologne filled the air. He looked around like someone seeing such a place for the first time, hands tucked into his oversized sleeves, shoes dusty, face mostly hidden beneath a baseball cap and a shaggy beard. From behind the cashier's counter, store manager Kevin eyed him immediately. His smile, usually reserved for well-dressed customers, dropped into a sneer. He elbowed one of the young trainees beside him. "Watch this," Kevin whispered with a smirk. "Another one of those freeloaders. Probably here to warm up or steal cologne samples." The man slowly made his way toward the high-end men's jackets. He ran a hand over a leather coat that cost more than most people's rent. A floor assistant walked over politely, but before she could speak, Kevin was already there. "Excuse me, sir," Kevin said, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. "These jackets are quite expensive. You may want to check out our clearance section. It's more in line with your budget." The man looked up briefly, then returned to studying the coat without saying a word. Kevin's voice grew louder, enough for other customers to hear. "We have cameras, just so you know. If you're not buying, please don't touch the merchandise." A few customers glanced over, some frowning at the way Kevin spoke, others awkwardly turning away. The man finally looked at Kevin. His eyes, sharp and strangely familiar, met the manager's gaze with calmness. "I didn't say I wasn't buying," he said softly. Kevin laughed. "Right, and I'm Tom Cruise." The man smirked just a little but said nothing. He continued browsing, walking slowly through the aisles, occasionally picking something up, then putting it back. Kevin watched him the entire time, shaking his head. "Honestly," he muttered to the assistant next to him, "people like that make the store look bad. We should start turning them away at the door." After 20 minutes, the man walked over to the watch section. The display sparkled with brands like Rolex, Omega, and Patek Philippe. Kevin's patience snapped. "Okay, sir, enough. You've been here long enough. If you're not purchasing anything, I'll have to ask you to leave." The man reached into his back pocket and pulled out a slightly crumpled note. Kevin's eyes rolled as he snatched it and read aloud. "Please assist this man with whatever he needs. He's assessing the store for a confidential internal review. CEO Maxwell Grant." Kevin froze. The letter had the company's seal. The signature was real. His heart pounded. He looked up. The man pulled off the cap. Underneath was a clean-shaven jawline, unmistakable cheekbones, and the piercing eyes of none other than Tom Cruise himself, only now fully visible. Kevin's voice cracked. "Mr. Cruise?" "What?" Tom nodded calmly. "I'm a silent partner in this chain. I invest in companies that treat people with dignity. This was a test." Kevin's face drained of color. The assistant next to him looked like she might faint. "You failed," Tom said gently, "not because you didn't recognize me, but because you saw someone you assumed had no money, no value, and treated them like dirt." There was a long pause. Tom took a breath, looked around the store once more, then added, "I'll be back tomorrow, with the actual owner. You may want to reflect on how you treat people before then." And with that, he turned and walked out, leaving a stunned silence behind. The rest of the day passed like a slow-burning nightmare for Kevin. He couldn't concentrate. Every time the door buzzed open, he looked up with a jolt, half expecting Tom Cruise to return, this time with the actual owner of the chain. But it never happened. The assistant who had stood next to him during the scene, her name was Maya, hadn't spoken to him since. That night, Kevin stayed late after closing. He walked up and down the aisles, remembering every word, every glance, every smirk he'd given. His stomach churned. It wasn't just about the fact that he'd mocked Tom Cruise. It was that he'd failed a basic test of character. He didn't sleep well. By morning, Kevin was already in the store before anyone else, dressed sharper than usual, hair combed perfectly, smile rehearsed. He had no idea what was coming, but he needed to appear ready. At precisely 10:15 a.m., a sleek black SUV pulled up to the front entrance. Out stepped a man in a tailored navy suit, tall and sharp-eyed. Maxwell Grant, the real CEO. Beside him was Tom Cruise again, clean-shaven, dressed casually but neatly. Kevin stood frozen, hands clenched tightly behind the counter. The two men walked straight to him. Customers nearby turned, whispering and pointing. Kevin put on his best grin, trying to pretend yesterday had never happened. "Good morning, Mr. Grant, Mr. Cruz. Welcome to—" "Let's not pretend," the CEO interrupted calmly. "Tom briefed me. Let's walk." Kevin followed silently as they moved through the store. Tom paused now and then, pointing out displays greeting staff. When they reached the back office, Maxwell turned to Kevin. "You've been with this company 8 years, haven't you?" Kevin nodded. "Ever occur to you that leadership isn't just about rules and profits?" Kevin fumbled. "Sir, I was just trying to keep order, maintain brand image." He looked, no offense, but he didn't look like someone we usually serve. Tom raised an eyebrow. "And what does someone we usually serve look like?" Kevin swallowed. The CEO paced slowly. "We've been preparing to expand. I've been scouting for someone to promote, someone who embodies our values, who can manage our new flagship branch downtown." Kevin's eyes lit up. "Sir, if you'll just give me another chance—" "I already did," Maxwell said coldly. "Yesterday was your chance." There was silence. Kevin looked helplessly at Tom, who said nothing. "But," Maxwell continued, "we've decided to promote someone else." A voice came from behind them. "Morning, gentlemen." Kevin turned and stared. Maya walked in, wearing a crisp white shirt, now holding a file in her hand. Her employee tag had a shiny new addition, assistant manager. Kevin blinked. Maxwell smiled. Maya showed patience, respect. "She tried to speak, but you cut her off. That says enough." Kevin opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. Tom turned to Maya. "We'd like you to shadow the downtown team next week. There's a leadership role opening soon. We want to see how you do." Maya nodded, stunned but composed. "Thank you. I won't let you down." As the CEO and Tom walked away, Kevin stood there like a man who had lost something he never realized he'd had, a chance to grow. But just as they reached the door, Tom turned back for a moment. "You know," he said to Kevin, "it's never too late to change. You judged me based on what I looked like. Maybe now you understand how dangerous that is." Then they were gone. Kevin remained still for a long time. Outside, a teenager came in, wearing ripped jeans and headphones. Kevin looked at him for a second too long, then did something he hadn't done in years. He smiled and said, "Welcome in. Let me know if you need anything." Kevin wasn't used to feeling small in his own store. For years, he had built himself up with titles, routines, and the unspoken power of a polished suit. But that morning, as he watched Maya take the lead on customer service, while staff gravitated toward her warmth and confidence, he realized how hollow that power had become. He tried to act normal. He smiled at customers. He complimented a few employees. But it all felt unnatural. Not because he wasn't trying, but because for the first time, he saw himself from the outside. And it wasn't a flattering view. 3 days passed. Maya had stepped gracefully into her new role. Staff morale was visibly higher. Even customers seemed to linger longer, chatting casually with her, asking for recommendations, offering compliments. Kevin noticed everything. He also noticed that no one, not a single person, asked for him anymore. Then something unexpected happened. Late Thursday afternoon, a woman walked in holding a toddler on one hip and a bag in the other. Her clothes were worn, her shoes mismatched, and she looked exhausted. Kevin, standing near the front, instinctively took a step forward, but paused. The woman walked slowly, stopping at the children's section, where she picked up a small jacket and checked the price tag. Her shoulders slumped. She put it back gently. Kevin took a breath, something inside him shifting. He walked over slowly and said, "Hi there, I'm Kevin. Can I help you find something?" The woman blinked, startled. "Oh no, just looking. I won't be long." Kevin looked at the toddler, who was rubbing his eyes and shivering slightly in the cool air. "That jacket's a good one," Kevin said softly. "Warm, durable. Been on sale, actually." The woman offered a faint smile, embarrassed. I just got a job interview. Thought I could stretch a bit, maybe get my son something nice, but..." She stopped, her voice cracking. Kevin didn't hesitate. "You know what? I think we have a promotion today. One free child's jacket per customer, limited time. The woman looked confused. Really? Kevin nodded. Let's grab your size. Moments later, he walked her to the register, rang up the jacket for $0, and added a small lunch voucher from the cafe inside. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't expect anything. He just did it. Later that evening, Maya approached him as he was restocking a shelf. I heard what you did, she said, folding her arms. The woman with the toddler. Kevin looked up nervously. I didn't mean to. I just thought it was right. Maya smiled. It was. He relaxed a little. She continued, You're changing. It's slow, but I see it. He gave a sheepish grin. It's uncomfortable. Maya laughed. Growth usually is. As she walked away, Kevin leaned on the shelf for a second, letting the words sink in. But the next twist wasn't far away. The next morning, a man walked in wearing a long coat and sunglasses. He carried a notepad and spoke quietly to employees, asking questions, observing their interactions, and taking notes. No one knew who he was. At first, Kevin assumed he was a local inspector or mystery shopper. He kept an eye on him, then casually approached and introduced himself. Anything I can help with? The man nodded. Yes, actually, I'm from corporate. I'm auditing all branches after last week's report. I've read about your store's incident. Kevin stiffened. Ah, you mean the Tom Cruise visit? Among other things, the man replied coolly. Kevin's pulse quickened. Look, I know I messed up, but I'm working on it. I promise you'll see a difference. The man scribbled something, then said, We'll see. Over the next hour, he spoke to Maya, then to 3 other employees, then to 2 customers. Kevin watched from afar, hands tightening around a clipboard. Before leaving, the man looked back once, at Kevin, and gave a small nod. Kevin wasn't sure if that meant trouble or redemption. The following Monday, the store opened to a heavy silence. Staff whispered quietly among themselves, tension rippling under every routine. The man from corporate had come and gone, but the pressure he left behind felt like a storm cloud. Kevin arrived earlier than usual again. He was trying, really trying, but the weight of his past decisions hung like a shadow. Every smile he gave now felt like penance. Every helpful act was genuine, but laced with guilt. At noon, a surprise announcement came through the store intercom. All team members, please gather in the lounge for a special briefing. This is mandatory. Kevin's heart jumped. These things rarely happened unless it was serious. In the lounge, the atmosphere was tight. Employees filled the room, murmuring, eyes darting to Kevin, to Maya, then to the door. Moments later, the regional director, Mr. Hayes, walked in, flanked by the same quiet man from corporate. They didn't smile. Mr. Hayes cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. As many of you know, this location was visited last week by both a high-profile guest and an undercover auditor. Today, we're here to address what was learned. Maya straightened. Kevin sat motionless. First, let me say this, Mr. Hayes continued. This store, despite some initial concerns, has shown a remarkable turnaround in only a few days. A few of you have demonstrated not only initiative, but humanity. And that matters. Kevin's pulse quickened. He didn't know what that meant, if it was good or if it was just the lead-up to something worse. The corporate man stepped forward. While the incident with Mr. Cruise raised red flags, what followed caught our attention more. We reviewed footage. We spoke to customers. What we found was that within 72 hours, this store's environment shifted dramatically. Not just because of promotions or training, but because of changed behavior. He looked directly at Kevin. Kevin lowered his eyes. There are still things to address, but one thing is clear. Someone who began this story as a cautionary tale is now part of the reason we're expanding this branch's resources. Murmurs passed through the room. Kevin looked up slowly, confused. The corporate man continued. You have a long way to go, Mr. Kevin, but the mother you helped last Thursday wrote a letter to the CEO. She didn't know your name, just said, the man in the tie who treated my son like he mattered. Kevin felt his throat tighten. Mr. Hayes smiled slightly. So, we're not letting you go. We're promoting Maya, as already announced, but we're also keeping you on, under her supervision. You'll be part of the new community outreach team, focusing on inclusion, service training, and local hiring. Kevin blinked. Wait, you're keeping me? You're not off the hook, Mr. Hayes said firmly. This isn't a reward. It's a responsibility. Earn it. As they left the room, Maya approached him, arms folded. Looks like you're reporting to me now, she said with a grin. Kevin chuckled nervously. Guess I deserve that. No, Maya replied. What you deserve depends on what you do next. And that's when the second twist hit. That same day, a viral video surfaced on social media. Footage from a customer's phone, taken during Kevin's original encounter with Tom Cruise. It showed Kevin mocking him, making assumptions, and belittling him. The comments exploded. Shameful. This guy needs to be fired. Can't believe he said that. Why does Tom Cruise always have to teach people how to act decent? Within hours, local reporters were calling. Headlines read, Luxury store manager mocked Tom Cruise. Public demands accountability. Kevin stared at his phone in horror. He hadn't expected this. The storm he thought had passed had just begun. Maya sat down beside him in the lounge. You okay? He showed her the phone. It's everywhere now. She took a breath. You can't erase it, but you can respond. To what? It's done. I'll be hated forever. No, she said. People don't remember mistakes. They remember what you do after. The next morning, Kevin stood in front of the store's camera, a simple sign behind him. To anyone I ever made feel small, I was wrong. He looked into the lens and spoke. My name is Kevin. I judged a man by how he looked. Not knowing he was someone famous didn't matter. What mattered was how I treated him, and that I failed. I've been given a second chance. Not everyone gets one. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll earn it if I can. The video was posted on the store's official page. At first, comments were mixed, but then something surprising happened. One user wrote, owning it. That's rare. Another, he didn't have to say anything. Respect. And finally, someone shared, that's the same guy who helped me get a coat for my son. I didn't know what he'd done before, but I know what he did for us. Redemption, it seemed, had begun, not in silence, but in action. It had been 3 weeks since Kevin's apology video went live, and things had changed. The store had become busier than ever, but not just because of curious customers. Word had spread that the staff were kind, the environment welcoming, and the culture shifting. People who had never dared step inside such a luxury store before were now walking through its doors, not to be judged, but to be helped. Kevin was no longer the manager, and strangely, he was fine with that. He had found something more important than a title. He was running the community outreach initiative now, visiting schools, organizing local events, and starting a new hiring drive that welcomed people who had been overlooked before. Single parents, immigrants, people with little formal education, but big potential. And it wasn't just business. It was personal. One afternoon, as he returned from a local career fair, Kevin walked into the store and stopped cold. Tom Cruise was back. No cameras, no announcement, just him, standing quietly near the cafe, talking with Maya and Mr. Hayes. Kevin approached slowly. Tom turned and smiled. You've been busy, Kevin nodded. Trying to be better. Tom studied him for a second. You are. Kevin let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. I saw your video, Tom added. I've seen a lot of fake apologies in my life. Yours wasn't one of them. Kevin looked down, humbled. Thank you. Tom leaned in slightly. Want to know the real twist? Kevin raised an eyebrow. I wasn't just here for a test, Tom said. I've been quietly funding a program across several companies, placing people in positions to see how staff treat them. You weren't the only one tested. Kevin blinked. So this whole thing, Tom nodded, was a lesson for a lot of people. Some passed, some failed. You stumbled, but you learned. He smiled again, which makes you more valuable than someone who's never been challenged. Then just like that, Tom turned and walked out again, leaving behind a different kind of legacy. That evening, as the store prepared to close, Kevin sat in the break room finishing paperwork. Maya walked in and placed a cup of coffee beside him. You were good with the student volunteers today, she said. They really liked you. Kevin smiled. I used to hate this kind of stuff. Now I look forward to it. She chuckled. Who'd have thought? They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Maya added, You know, kindness isn't just a policy, it's a choice, one we make every day, especially when no one's watching. Kevin nodded. Yeah, that's the twist I never saw coming. True kindness isn't proven in moments when it's easy, but in moments when it costs us pride, comfort, or control. Never judge someone by their appearance, because greatness often walks quietly, and change begins the moment we choose humility over ego.